What began as a way to make a visit to the GP more bearable for kids is now helping to shine a light on a deadly disease.
To train and educate people across the world on what to look for in the early signs of oral cancer.
And the first place it's doing that is in the US, through a key partnership with the Oral Cancer Foundation.
We'll be rolling out ThroatScope in all their screening clinics, and they perform those outside the pharmacies in the US. So we're looking to get ThroatScope on the shelf in the US in those pharmacies.
It's a huge step forward for the homegrown invention in terms of breaking into the lucrative US market. The brainchild of mother of four, Jennifer Holland, the ThroatScope is now being sold in 146 countries, including the UK, US and Canada, in distribution deals worth more than $15 million.
Here in Australia, we'll also be looking at doing a screening of oral cancer in pharmacies in July 2017.
Each year, around 1,250 people are diagnosed with some form of oral cancer. While there's no national screening program, the key remains early diagnosis, with the survival rate currently at around 30%. Symptoms include mouth pain, persistent swelling, unusual bleeding, changes in speech and difficulty chewing. If you do notice anything out of the ordinary, the advice is to see your doctor. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
I had to redeem myself from the PK I missed last game, so I think that does it.
She signed contracts in leagues across the world, but this winter, Susie Batkovic is coming to a court near you.
It's probably the first time I'm actually going to slow right down and have an off season. And fortunate enough to come home back to Newey, and yeah, I mean, I'm usually here anyway in the off season, in and out, but I'm just going to be here a lot longer and get to play back on the court where it all began.
The 36-year-old is one of the Hunter's most successful sporting exports. Now it's time to give something back.
I think it would be, something really positive for Newcastle, get the kids involved and they can make a professional career out of it. I've done that my whole life and I've absolutely loved it. I would not change a thing about what I've done, and, I have been extremely fortunate and I still love the game.
With less training and travel time than the WNBL, Susie is looking forward to her Waratah League debut. She's likely to make her first appearance a few games into the season.
It will be interesting how I cope with a cold, being in the tropics for so long. So I'll probably be training in big jackets and beanies, but, I'll hopefully adjust pretty quickly.
Currently playing for Townsville, Batkovic is keen to star in the National League again next season. She hasn't ruled out the possibility of playing for a Newcastle franchise if one is formed by the 2018-19 competition.
For me, it's always been about the day I do decide to retire. I'm not giving what I could. I never want to leave the game overdone, I guess.
Stephen Wakeman is accused of indecently assaulting the elderly woman over a period of 2 hours while she was in her Edgeworth home. Wakeman chose not to be brought up from the docks to face Newcastle court this afternoon. Police allege Wakeman, who had been a gardener at the victim's home, entered her house while she was alone and indecently assaulted her. He's accused of staying until around 8 p.m. when the woman was able to activate a duress alarm. This notified a relative, and when they arrived, they alleged they saw him leaving the home. Police established a crime scene and forensic officers examined the property. Wakeman was arrested at a Cameron Park address and later charged with aggravated break and enter and assault with intent to commit sexual assault. He'll undergo a mental health assessment while in custody and will appear here in Newcastle Local Court tomorrow.
A new Premier and new priorities. First and foremost, Gladys Berejiklian promising to deliver on local infrastructure.
I'm just not talking about those mega projects in Sydney, as important as they are, but I'm talking about making sure every community gets what it needs.
Wallsend MP Sonia Hornery hopes that includes her electorate. She's pushing for the Premier to visit the Lake Macquarie Transport Interchange.
Glendale certainly is the centre of the Lower Hunter and a geographical centre and demographic centre, so I hope that she visits us.
Ms Hornery says the project is still waiting on urgent funding. It needs $13 million to remain on track.
It means the traffic flow from Glendale to Cardiff and the industrial area will be improved, and that's really important.
While in Newcastle, Tim Krakenthorpe believes the change in leadership could mean a rethink of what he's labelled as some terrible decisions by the government, such as the privatisation of the city's public transport and pending council amalgamations.
Quite simply, we need a decision on the Port Stephens Newcastle merger because it's been dragging on far too long. Most other councils have had elections. We're still in limbo. It's simply not good enough.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
Supported by his wife and father, 32-year-old Adam Gould faced Newcastle Local Court via video link from Silverwater Jail. The bikie was successful in a bail application stemming from a brawl at Wallsend on December 8. The court heard Gould had been in segregation in Silverwater since being taken into custody earlier this month. He's facing charges of affray, using a weapon with intent to commit a serious indictable offence, and custody of an offensive implement in a public place. Gould is accused of being in a fight involving several men which broke out on Thomas Street and left 2 people in hospital. The 32-year-old is a high-ranking member of the Newcastle chapter of the Finks. The police prosecutor formally opposed bail, arguing Gould posed an unacceptable risk to the community and would endanger the safety of victims. But Magistrate Stone granted it, imposing a number of conditions, including a non-association condition prohibiting him from having contact with any members of the Finks, along with a $2,000 surety, a curfew, reporting regularly to police. Gould's solicitor told the court the 32-year-old is likely to enter a plea at his next court appearance on the 23rd of February.
It's a tumultuous time for the Catholic Church. Allegations of child sexual abuse and cover-ups within the Maitland-Newcastle diocese were brought to light at the recent Royal Commission hearings. Now it's formally unveiled a new body called the Diocesan Protection and Safety Council.
It builds on what we've done in the past, but it's a body now that's been separately constituted with a broader brief and probably more independence than previously.
The council is made up of 9 professionals from a range of backgrounds who'll advise the bishop on several issues.
On all aspects relating to the protection of children and vulnerable people in the diocese, to the way that the diocese is able to be with and assist the survivors of abuse.
There are people with legal skills, people with skills in the area of mental health, psychology, mediation.
The aim is to foster improvement throughout the diocese in all matters relating to the protection of children.
It's important that we recognise their pain, but we learn from that, and so plan a future that hopefully makes sure that those problems of the past are a thing of the past.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
we've just been undefeated for 6 weeks. So I mean, at some point you're going to lose a game, and I think Muskie said the same thing. You know, they've lost a couple now, but Melbourne Victory, I'm sure their belief doesn't change, and nor will ours.
Hall's annual Open Day is a chance for the Hunter Ace to mix with fans and talk about the year ahead. At the end of this week, the team will head to the Middle East to prepare for round 1. Unfortunately, Hall won't have his new plane.
The plane we were racing last year is fast, but it's got some issues with it at the moment. So a new plane's getting built. It's not ready yet. We've got a rental plane in Abu Dhabi waiting for us, and then we'll get the new plane for the second race.
In 2016, an early back injury and then illness hampered his title charge, and he finished runner-up for the second straight season. But he says he's feeling physically better and ready to challenge Germany's Matthias Dolderer for the crown.
The main threat's going to be Matthias, as always, but everybody out there can win races, and if you can win races, you can win a championship.
In a move which should level the playing field, the series will head to several new locations in 2017.
We're going into Russia, we're racing in Portugal. There's another location in Europe which we're going to, which hasn't been announced yet, and we're racing in San Diego.
The Abu Dhabi round begins on February 10. Hammond's love for the game started in a neighbour's garage in the early 2000s. 15 years later, in just her second appearance at the World Titles, she was right on target.
Would you say this is your best result ever?
Definitely. To make the final of the World Championships is obviously the pinnacle. There's only one thing that I could do better than that, and that's actually winning it.
Unfortunately, that crown went to England's Lisa Ashton.
I mean, I just had to kind of really see if I could get on top of my game and maybe wait for her to falter, which she didn't. So, but I'm still really happy with the result.
Now back at home with her runner-up check, the quiet achiever is getting used to some extra attention.
You know, I've just been able to do what I do without really getting much recognition, which is fine by me. I just like playing darts and I love doing what I do.
Having automatically qualified for the 2018 Championships, Hammond will play in events across Australia this year to try and maintain her form. She won't give away her age, but Corinne insists she's got plenty of time for improvement.
Hey, look, I could play darts until I was about 70, so really, I guess I've got plenty of years left in me yet.
A town under attack yet again by an intense, fast-moving fire, flames leaping into the air and towards homes.
That was pretty vicious, but it went past pretty quick.
Too close to comfort, we'll say that.
Searing temperatures and strong winds pushing fire crews to the limit. Already exhausted, some were overcome. Colleagues managing somehow to reach properties in the nick of time.
We're just getting prepared.
How are you feeling?
Mate, I'm panicking in a way, you know.
Residents did what they could.
In the 10 years I've lived here, this is probably one of the scariest.
Before the heavy artillery was brought in, the fire bombarded in every direction. The threat eased by the afternoon, but relief quickly turned to anger over the possibility the fire was deliberately lit.
With the destruction that it causes, I cannot explain it, I don't understand it.
They've got to do something. You know, this is putting people's lives at risk, houses, everything we work for.
for major blazes in recent weeks, but yet again, no properties or lives lost, and residents counting their blessings.
Reporter Tyson Cottrell joins us live now. And Tyson, have any charges been laid?
Touch, the 26-year-old is still being questioned by detectives at Maitland Police Station. As yet, no charges have been laid, but they are expected to at some stage, possibly tonight. As for the fire itself, it has just been downgraded to an advice level.
It went run down the river towards the bridge, which made us close the highway in both directions. The wind intensified and it brought the fire uphill towards these residents.
I'm glad my son's safe and my Commodore.
Last year, the region saw 10 million visitors. That's more than ever before. And while Tourism Hunter says a big share of that was due to our events calendar, more can be done.
The Hunter has had a proud heritage of delivering fantastic events. Now let's take it to another level.
It's now unveiled a way to do just that. First, an assessment of our existing facilities, sporting, cultural and infrastructure, and what we need to upgrade to a first-class standard.
We're determined to have this body of work completed, the first stage of it done, by the second quarter of this year.
Once that's completed, Tourism Hunter says it's all go. And the best way to bringing the best events to the region and keeping them here is voting with your feet.
Really, that is the key, to be honest with you. We need to make sure that the stadiums are full, the art galleries are occupied, the trains and the buses and the taxis are full, as well as the restaurants and the hotels.
It's all part of a wider restructure of the state's tourism sector. Soon, the Hunter will be grouped under Sydney Surrounds North, alongside the Central Coast and parts of Western Sydney. A move the existing boss insists is a positive.
In fact, we'll be a partnership with them. We'll work as a coalition, because our competition is not each other. Our competition is outside the state, outside the country.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It's the most scary thing that's ever happened to me and my family as well, because they had to watch what was happening and we had no control over it.
Meningococcal disease can start a bit like the flu, just feeling unwell, aches and pains, but then you get a fever and the symptoms continue to get worse and worse. Limb pains, sometimes headache.
It may not look like much, but inside this trailer
Hello, come on in.
is one of the most advanced pieces of Australia's defence arsenal.
Today is measured as the air defence of RAF Base Sandbury.
We're flying the Super Hornet today.
The FA-18 simulator is just like the real thing, meaning budding pilots can get a head start on learning in a controlled environment before even taking to the skies.
This is kind of what they look forward to, and obviously they have an interest in aviation, being involved in that, so I think it's a pretty good thing for them to do on the holidays.
It may look like a video game, but this simulator is incredibly realistic and challenging, giving these cadets a first-hand look at life in the cockpit.
Yeah, it was fun.
You're flying a plane. Can you get any cooler?
Its first visit to the Hunter was part of a wider introduction day. Experienced pilots were on hand at Adamstown to pass on their skills.
It's sort of like a roll it onto your head.
Using the latest technology in the hope of recruiting more young people for the Air Force.
It's kind of something I never dreamed I'd be doing, really, putting a G-suit on. Not anything you do every single day.
They're also getting a look at all the other jobs that you can do as well, and trying to target people that are kind of in that, trying to decide what they want to do, year 11, year 12 kind of range.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
As the mercury soared, 15 novice surfers hit the waves. Caves Beach, the perfect location to cool off for Vision Australia's Learn to Surf School.
Today is more about the opportunity, giving the kids that we work with at Vision Australia the chance to experience things that the other kids usually experience.
After a quick run through, it was time to hang 10. The experience, a first for some.
I've laid on one, but never really. I'm more of a swimmer.
It's hoped days like these will build confidence among young people who are blind or have a vision impairment.
Working with them as maybe perhaps the occupational therapist, I know what they're capable of, but then for them to able to see it within themselves, that's such a special moment.
Like anything new, persistence proved the key.
Not successfully yet, but still got a whole day, so we'll see what happens.
Among the thrills and spills, it wasn't hard to spot a smile. And in the end, having fun was what today was all about.
That was really cool. That was really fun, yeah.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
With the temperature topping 40 degrees, the Jets were happy with an air-conditioned gym session as they prepare for a trip to the mid-north coast. Andrew Houle and Morten Nordstrand returned from suspension and injury for the clash with City, but Wayne Brown will miss out.
Looks like he'll be another week, so I don't really want to rush it. If there's any chance that he can injure himself again, we'll hold off on that. But to get two of the three back, I'm more than happy.
Daniel Mullen impressed the coach with his appearance off the bench against Western Sydney and could force his way back into the starting 11. The same can't be said for Finnish import Alexander Koko.
A little disappointed. I was expecting more of the front four and didn't get that. So like I said, making 3 changes to the front four gave some people an opportunity, and I didn't think at the time they stepped up enough.
Newcastle's opponents are coming off an unconvincing 2-1 win over the Mariners. Despite boasting some of the competition's best attacking weapons in Bruno Fornaroli and Tim Cahill, the Victorians haven't won on the road since round 1.
They're a dangerous outfit in attack, but I think we can score goals against them, so it's about us doing a defensive job, which we haven't done for the last 5 weeks. Been disappointed with our defensive structure, so we need to, again, keep a clean sheet, and our back is to score against anyone.
Ace sort of got it all together, you know, so he's really good mates with Wilco and they travel together and that, and I think he's sort of been pushing him all year to come down and get in the team.
He'd rather be riding bikes than working on them, but Edwards is still in his element doing work experience at a motorcycle dealership. The 15-year-old is home from appearing in a special race in Barcelona alongside MotoGP ace Marc Marquez.
A spot opened up for me in the Super Prestigio, so I went over there and raced that, and it was pretty crazy.
It capped off a big year which included his second appearance at the Asia Talent Cup.
Flew to so many different countries and got to race with so many different people on different bikes and in different series, and it was just a really good experience.
Unfortunately, you can only be selected for the program twice, meaning Edwards had to find another ride in 2017. He'll start with the R3 Cup, but hopefully there's plenty more to come.
Well, hopefully I go good on the R3, and then you just got to keep improving, I guess.
"2016 was one of the worst ever years on Hunter roads. 47 people lost their lives, and police fear that horror run is continuing in 2017.
Yeah, it's very concerning. We're all about trying to reduce road trauma on the roads, and that's our primary focus. At the end of the day, we would like to not issue infringement notices for people breaking the law, but we do what we do to save lives.
And officers are now out on the road in numbers to do just that. Double demerits are now in force for the Australia Day long weekend.
We expect that people want to go out and have a good time and have a few drinks. Obviously, public holidays, public transport is limited, but people just need to be responsible, and if they can't find an alternative way of getting home, don't drink.
As always, speeding and drink driving will be targeted by police this weekend, while officers will also keep an eye on mobile phone use behind the wheel.
I think any member of the public, when they look around when they're driving, see a lot of people on electronic devices while they're driving motor vehicles.
And with the school holidays coming to an end, police are also warning motorists to expect delays on main arterial roads, particularly on Sunday.
We just ask people to be patient.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It's empty now, but come tomorrow morning, Lake Macquarie Council chambers will be full to the brim for what's sure to be an emotional citizenship ceremony.
We've got a family of 6 from Jordan. They're currently living in Cameron Park, so they'll be here tomorrow, but it'll be really wonderful. It's a very emotional time for a lot of people. They've had a big journey to get here, and they've decided that they want to make their home Lake Macquarie, which is absolutely fantastic.
Australia Day celebrations will continue at Spears Point Park with free entertainment.
We've also got storytelling, Aboriginal storytelling, and we'll have other stalls, and plus we've got the fireworks at 9 p.m.
The region's biggest citizenship ceremony will take place in Newcastle City Hall.
We often welcome, almost 200 new citizens to Newcastle, and it's a huge celebration of what it means to be a Novocastrian as well as an Australian.
Newcastle's festivities will centre around the harbour between 9 and 3 with a paddle race, the Splashdown Aqua Show, face painting and jumping castles. In Maitland, celebrations will pay homage to the humble Aussie backyard with a themed party and special kids activities.
We'll have backyard cricket, cubby house corner, we'll have kids lawnmower obstacle races, and hills hoist apple grabs that are run by a few of the community groups based here in Maitland.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News. It's not every day you see one of these in action. And this Saturday and Sunday, the sky over Maitland will be abuzz with the aircraft of yesteryear.
We've got some pretty cool aircraft. So we've got a Hawker Hurricane coming from Scone, which hasn't done an air display apart from the recent Scone Air Show since 1946. So really we haven't had one in Australia since the end of the war.
The last air show attracted close to 8,000 people, and with some extra surprises installed this year, that number is expected to rise. The Air Force roulettes will take to the sky, along with a Hawk fighter and all the aerobatic favourites. It's an impressive lineup which has taken 18 months to pull off, while on the ground there'll be more of this. The weekend event will also pay tribute to a much-loved member of the Hunters aviation community, Gerard Baber, who lost his life when his aircraft went down in 2015.
He was a really big contributor to the organising of the last air show we had, so we're going to have a flyover for him. It's called a Missing Man Formation, and his family will be here to see it, so that'll be a tribute to Gerard.
Gates open at 9 a.m. on Saturday. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
It's the cards we've been dealt up there. It's the cards we've been dealt for a while, and
The thing that is bolted on though is the fans. The fans are never going to waver. Membership is strong.
He could win Goal of the Season. And he's headed to the Jets.
We try to get the best players in the country, and I think Dimmy's an excellent player and someone we'd love to have at this club.
Coach Mark Jones hopes Andrew Houle will also be in the squad next season. He's already approached him about re-signing if an overseas offer doesn't eventuate.
We're very happy for players to move on to bigger and better things, but if he remains in this country, I expect him to stay here and continue to be a vital part of Newcastle being successful.
At this stage, Houle says he's focusing on football as he returns from suspension after collecting 5 yellow cards for the season.
I need to be careful that I don't get suspended again, and I obviously missed 1 game, so I need to, like I said, just make sure I keep the yellow cards in the pocket of the referee.
Fellow local junior Nick Cowburn is still coming to terms with being selected for an Australian under-23 camp on the Central Coast. The 21-year-old is confident he won't be overawed.
No, definitely looking forward to it. I'm there with the best players for my age group in the A-League, so it'll be good to, see what everyone puts forward and, hopefully make the next squad.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. They've all had success in the junior ranks, but Guy Walters, Jesse Maxwell and Luke Young know the track classic represents another level.
2 or 3 Olympians in the 1500A race, that'll be pretty tough, and then there's just a lot of boys from Melbourne coming down. They're a really good competition.
Walters will use the event to gauge his form ahead of a push for the Com Games.
If this year can be as kind of good as I want it to be and pan out the way it hopefully can, then yeah, going into next year I'd like to really chase some qualifiers and go to America this year, looking for a qualifier for the Games.
Young is a junior national champion in the 800 and 1500. On Saturday night, he'll have his first serious hit out at the Classic in the 800.
I ran the 1K, the community 1K before, but haven't been in an actual race.
It's a similar story for Maxwell, who's also focusing on the 2-lap race.
Switched to some 400s, which was different to what I was used to in the 8 and 15. Gave that a crack. I enjoyed it, but now I've just gone back to the 8.
The Lake Macquarie teenagers are hoping to reach the Junior Nationals in April. For now, Saturday is the only thing on their minds.
Who's going to win, you or him?
Oh, hopefully me.
We've been back and forth. I beat him the other night, but he's still got the faster PB. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting result.
Travelling at 750 kilometres an hour, 3 FA-18 Hornets roared over Newcastle. Just part of a show that had all eyes to the sky along Honeysuckle. Australia Day, an extra special time for more than 100 people who've decided to call Newcastle home. Today becoming some of the country's newest citizens. Refugee advocate and community leader Sister Diana Santalban was named Newcastle's Citizen of the Year for her tireless work helping refugees. At Toronto, it was all hands on deck, with a lot at stake in the annual pontoon cricket match.
Oh, it's fierce. It's there's schooners on the bets, there's jugs even.
Spears Point was speckled in Aussie pride.
Happy Australia Day!
And at Port Stephens, there was plenty of pomp, accompanied by a convoy of classic cars. And Maitland refused to break with tradition. Its thong-throwing competition drew hundreds, keen to celebrate our National Day in true blue fashion. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
She's dedicated more than 20 years to this cause, but Shirley Chapman was shocked to receive one of Australia's highest honours today.
Not excited, but astounded actually, that was the word, because it sort of never entered my mind.
Wrap with Love has been responsible for providing more than 382,000 blankets to displaced people across the globe, and that's due in part to Shirley's tireless work. From unsung heroes to national sporting identities, Hunter cricketer Robert Dutchy Holland received an Order of Australia for his service to the sport.
It's a complete surprise to me, but it's terrific. I'm very pleased about it to have somebody from Toronto recognised for something like that.
Richard Jones, the man behind the Westpac Rescue helicopter, also honoured during today's celebrations.
Put your hand up. People haven't got a lot of time, but if it wasn't for volunteering, this country would be much worse off. So get out there and have a crack.
For a full list of the region's Australia Day Honours recipients, just head to our website. Sally Rafferty, NBN News.
It's key for us to get 3 points, but after training on the surface today, it's immaculate, and I think it'll definitely play into the hands of both teams.
It certainly wasn't the easiest trip north. The Jets diverted and back on the bus late this afternoon, but confident of soaring into the finals at Melbourne City's expense.
I think the girls are in a really good place at the moment, and I think everyone's just really keen to play.
With their season on the line, 2 weeks ago they beat Brisbane. Last week it was ladder leaders Sydney FC. Setting up a blockbuster clash with 4th place City. The equation is simple. If the Jets win, they're in, and that's all they're focused on.
I think that's what we've done the last couple of weeks, and it's worked for us, and we haven't looked any further than the task at hand.
There was never any room on the plane for staff, meaning coach Craig Deans was always going to drive north.
I can live with the bus trip.
He's happy to go along for the ride at the moment and will keep the same starting 11 as previous weeks, particularly after the big win over the Sky Blues.
To get a result like that against the team that's on top of the table showed that we're a serious team, and we can't be really underestimated, but we need to make sure that we maintain that tomorrow, because it's not just going to happen again because it's happened in the last 2 weeks. We know what's coming, we know the level that we need to play at to get a result.
To do the thing that I absolutely love in front of my hometown, and this feels like home when I get my track chair out here, and mate, I'm just grateful. There's nothing else that can sum it up better than that.
I'll be seeking a meeting with the Minister for the Environment, and I'll also be writing to the Premier on this issue.
An agonising wait.
It was 7 days of being in the dark. Mum was wasting away.
Peter Jolly says he was forced to helplessly watch on as his mother Judith struggled with an undiagnosed aggressive form of cancer. The experience made more traumatic by what Peter describes as a severe shortage of specialists over the Christmas period.
Mum said to the family on Wednesday afternoon, they keep on saying there's something wrong with me, but they don't have any answers.
Fed up with the lengthy delays, he escalated his calls to head management.
Within 4.5 hours, everything clicked. And doctors were brought back from annual leave, surgeons were brought in, and Mum had emergency surgery the next morning at 9 a.m.
But in a statement, John Hunter Hospital has hit back at the claims, saying a review of Mrs. Jolly's medical record has shown that her care and treatment was clinically appropriate and consistent with the care provided at any other time of the year. With Health Minister Gillian Skinner today announcing her retirement, Newcastle MP Tim Krakenthorpe is calling for her replacement to address the region's unfolding health crisis.
Mrs. Jolly is the human face of under-resourcing of health in New South Wales and the John Hunter Hospital in particular.
Sally Rafferty, NBN News.
The members of the community certainly don't have anything to fear in relation to the buses. They should be comforted in the fact that it's an extra layer of protection for them.
It's one of Australia's premier grape-growing regions, attracting more international tourists than any other wine area in the country. But there are challenges, including competition from big business overseas. To combat this, local winemakers are looking to the federal government to help boost its tourism opportunities.
We can now talk about investments, planning the future, discussing what to do with some of the available money that the federal government has.
The Turnbull government has earmarked $50 million to promote Australia's wine industry, money left over following the reform of the wine equalisation tax rebate last year.
I would think that the Hunter's in a very strong position to have an opportunity to get a substantial assistance from that $50 million.
The Hunter Valley winemaking industry alone is worth close to $800 million, and with 18% of international visitors coming direct to the valley, federal government support is vital for further growth. The government is also introducing a new cellar door grant. It will only go to companies prepared to invest.
It's not a grant that's going to be given to somebody just because they make wine. It'll be given to somebody because of their investment in wine tourism.
Jennifer Enyon, NBN News.
It's a bit surreal, happening so quick, only 3 days ago getting told about this experience. Hopefully this can benefit me in the long run. When I come back, give me more confidence, be able to play first team.
We work hard for that one reason, and it is to run well, and I've run faster every year. It would be nice to go quicker, but it will be tough because I've changed my training a bit. But I mean, I'm just happy to be here at the moment, yeah.
I won't take the field for granted. There's
There's Jordan Gusman, Jordan Williams, there's some of the juniors as well. So it's going to be interesting. The faster it is, the better for me anyway.
Officially launched, Surfest is now underway for 2017.
I never stopped. I never stopped.
The Lake Macquarie Festival of Surfing starts at Redhead tomorrow, but it's the main event the hype is building for, particularly after an all-star field was named featuring Owen Wright.
It'll be great to see Owen put a Guernsey back on just for himself, not only the event but just for himself mainly more than anything.
Just to see him back and getting back into things, I'd love to see him back on the tour, and I think he's been really missed the last year.
After taking on the World Tour last year, Ryan Callanan is ready to shine at his home break.
Any good results going to play a big part in the whole year, and I'm here to win.
And he won't be the Hunters' only hope, with former quarter-finalist Jake Sylvester winning the wildcard.
He's one of the best guys I've seen come out of Newcastle, and I had a good rivalry with him growing up, and see him come back and be able to surf in the comp. I really hope I get to have a heat with him and hopefully a final.
It was good. I still really enjoy surfing competitively, but just any time out in the water, really I'm having a good time.
Straight into the round of 64, it's a huge chance for Sylvester to claim big QS points and potentially launch a competitive comeback.
I haven't thought that far ahead. So winning the trials was obviously, I was stoked for that to happen, and now I guess Surfest is going to be around the corner, so I'm just looking to keep surfing and hopefully make a few heats and then, take it from there.
Philippa Anderson is one who will be taking on the QS, buoyed by a semi-final finish at the International Women's Pro in Cronulla late last year.
Not putting pressure on myself, ended up getting my best result ever. Fred to actually happen in a 6-star event and beat some big names. It was, just puts all the cards on the table and just says that you can do it.
Anderson has won before, but another Castrian has never claimed the men's, and the event's namesake warns that certainly won't be an easy feat.
Sometimes it feels like it's easier competing away from home, away from your friends and family. You don't feel quite as much pressure. So to win at home is, I think, doubly hard.